listening audience, and welcome to another Toonkind at 12 frames per second. This is the third one I've done today. I am Whirl. I am once again playing the He Who Funky Ragdoll Bondlock, and I am joined here today by my bestest friend and scheming buddy, the amazing, the wonderful, the talented, the fantastic, the funny, the clever, the wonderful, amazing. Did I say awesome? I'm gonna keep going.
Hi. Oh, goodness. My name is Wiz, and I am going to be playing Chifley Ford today. Oh, my. I love you, Will. Oh, goodness. Oh, boy. Okay, well. Our setup for today, our scene begins. We're in a park, one of the very many parks of Toontown. It's early-ish afternoon, I'd say, sort of after school pickup kind of time. Mm-hmm. And there is one of those parks that has a really big, open, grassy area that's perfect for kicking a ball around. And then there's a sandpit and undercover area and play equipment over there. And in this...
all the staples of a good playground.
And in the field part, there is a little girl wearing a green dress and a blue scarf, and she is running after a ball. And she's playing by herself mostly at the moment, and she's running after the ball. She gives it a big kick, and her blue scarf comes unraveled from around her throat slightly, and she steps on it, and whomp, very cartoonishly, straight down onto her face in the grass.
Oh dear, poor Bean.
And she just sort of lies there for a second, a tad stunned.
And, well, she wasn't completely alone on the playground, because there was somebody who was just kind of sitting on a bench, enjoying the nice day, because he didn't really have much else to do. When he sees her fall, he immediately, stands up and is running over, oh goodness, are you alright?
The little girl sits up, and her blue scarf has a rather nasty tear through it, and she has, dirt on her cheeks, and a little bit of grass in between her teeth, and her hair's a little bit fuzzy, and she sort of looks up and blinks up at you, and then looks down at her scarf, and she doesn't say anything, but tears immediately start forming in the bottom of her eyes.
No, sweetheart, it's alright. Hang on, it's okay. We can fix this. Hang on. Don't you worry one bit. And he reaches into hammer space. Pulls out what looks like a cookie tin. And pops it open, and inside there is a sewing kit. He's like, alright, hang on, we can fix this up real quickly. There's no need to worry about it, okay? What's your name, sweetheart?
She sort of sniffles a little bit. My name's Missy.
Pleased to meet you, Miss Missy. Our name is Bondlock. And he has pulled out a nice blue thread that matches the rest of her scarf and is stitching the tear shut. Very carefully.
She's watching this, kind of fascinating. She's not very familiar with sewing, to be quite honest. Oh, cool. Thank you.
Of course. Always happy to help. Now, are you alright? That was quite a fall. Do you need any sort of healing? We've got... well, if we just close this again, we can open it, and it should have cookies inside. Possibly.
Her eyes are kind of going a little bit round. She's like, I'm fine, but you got magic cookies?
Yes! Hang on. And he finishes off the row of stitches with a neat little flourish, and snips the thread with a pair of scissors that look a little bit like a bird.
I have a pair of those.
Yes. You know the ones.
I know the ones.
And he puts the thread and needle away and is like, all right, now let's see. And he closes the box again and then reopens it, and that's above a 10. He opens it again, and there are cookies inside. Butter cookies.
She is clapping very excitedly. That is so cool! You got magic cookies!
Yes! They were a gift from a friend of mine. Would you like to have one?
Oh, yes, please.
And he holds out the box of cookies for her to pick from the selection.
And she's going to pick one and then look at it and then look back up at Bondlock. Could I have two?
Oh, of course.
And she's going to grin and reach in and take another one. And she's going to look at them both and she's going, I'm going to give this one to Chifley.
And I need to roll history because I don't remember. Was Chifley's name mentioned during Eat Your Heart Out? Like,
I think he introduced himself.
Okay, so that's a d20 plus 3 at advantage. I don't need advantage. That's an unnatural 20, and I'm going to take that because Dice Parser has been a bitch today.
Yeah, that's valid.
He blinks and goes a little pale and says, "Oh, I'm sure your Chifley will love it."
And she's going to just smile and turn, about 90 degrees and wave a hand around and go, Chifley, I got a cookie. And I'm not going to make you roll a perception because he's there. There is a blue toon a little bit over there near the shaded area, and he's walking towards you.
Boy, oh boy, let me just wisdom save. Okay.
That's another dirty 20. That's all right.
So he doesn't panic and try and run, but
oh no, poor Bondlock.
He looks very, oh god, why did I do this? I don't want to be here.
Oh boy. As Chifley sort of gets a little bit closer, Missy runs towards him to close the gap a little bit away from Bondlock. And she's excitedly chatting about the cookie that was magic. It came out of the tin, and how Bondlock fixed her scarf. And Chifley's just sort of letting her ramble a little bit and just looking at her, and then looks over at Bondlock, and then looks back at Missy, and then looks back at Bondlock. And I'm going to do a history for him.
And Bondlock just very carefully closes up the cookie tin and puts it back in his pocket.
Okay, so that's a 19. Bondlock does not look exactly, even if you disregard all of the damage during Eat Your Heart Out, they don't look exactly the way that he did during that, does he?
No, he doesn't. For one, he's rearranged the fabric of his old outfit to be something he's a little more comfortable with. So instead of, trousers and a tucked in shirt and suspenders, instead he's wearing a nice little t-shirt type dress and, sleeves and leggings and boots. And he's also, it's interesting. He's lost the red circle marks on his cheeks, and he's lost the black color in his sclera. Now they're just white.
Okay, cool. But that is a 19, so I don't I don't think he's going to have any problems recognizing him regardless. Missy has taken notice of none of what the two older toons are doing, and has just sort of grabbed Chifley and is dragging him the rest of the way over to Bondlock with a very excited, come and say hello! I made a friend, Chifley! And he's just letting her drag him over.
And Bondlock's just kind of nervously patting his hands together and is just like, oh god, okay, they're coming over. Oh, this is wonderful. Okay. It's fine. This is fine.
Say it enough times it stops being a word. Oh boy. And before too much longer, you now have Chifley standing in front of you. How tall is Bondlog?
He is 5 foot nothing.
Okay. Bondlog is taller than Chifley.
Oh, goodness.
But Chifley actually seems a little bit surprised at this because Bondlog could not stand up the last time he saw him.
No, he could not. He was kind of just curled up in a little ball in the back of the cart.
Yeah, that's true. And so they get over, and Missy's sort of still tugging on Chifley. Like, they fixed my scarf. See, it did have a hole in it, and they fixed it. That's great, Missy. It would not do well to damage your lucky scarf, would it? Nope, no, it wouldn't. And now she's just munching on a cookie. He kind of pets her hair. Thank you for mending my sister's scarf.
Of course, we were happy to help. And Chifley, you are free to roll insight.
I was just about to do that. That's a 23.
Oh goodness, that's a 23. Yeah, Chifley, good God, this tune's body language is just fear, and his music definitely kind of matches. Like, he is very obviously nervous and a little afraid of you.
That's distinctly not something that Chifley's used to. He's not necessarily the most threatening person. Missy, why don't you take your ball and go and have a look at the play equipment over there. Make sure it's suitable for later. Oh, yes. Gotta make sure it's good. Okay, bye. And she's going to go and grab her ball that she was kicking and run over towards the play equipment. And once she's held him out of earshot, Chifley's going to just turn his head to look at Bondlog. I'm not going to hurt you if you're worried.
No, of course you're not. We remember.
I should apologize. I didn't really give the best first impression, did I?
No, you were perfectly wonderful, perfectly lovely. It was fine. How are you?
I'm well. You seem in a much better state than then.
Yes, we've been repaired since then.
Good. Bondlog, are you afraid of me? He knows the answer, but he likes people to talk to him.
Oh, goodness. Chifley, because you are so, in tune to the background music, you kind of hear the sort of, surprised blink of the music box in Bonlock's theme, and the strings kind of coming to an abrupt halt, and...
Oh, no.
he kind of winces, and he covers it up quickly and smiles and says, No, of course not. Why would we be afraid? You tried to help us. It was very kind of you. We appreciate it.
Oh, Chifley does not trust like that. He knows it's wrong. He's just got to kind of give Bondlock a little bit of a look, and then turning his whole self to face Missy, he's then going to drop into a cross-legged sitting position onto the grass.
Unlock just looks at him like, okay, that's a reaction.
I didn't realize how tall you were.
We're not very tall, but we had to, we had to be of a certain height to be able to do our job.
What was that?
We were a caretaker, for a young girl. Her name was Clara. We were we were meant to look after her when no one else could because she was too sick for actual people to be in the room.
Oh.
We looked after her. We made sure she got her rest. We made sure she ate and took her medicine, and we entertained her when we could.
I can definitely relate with that kind of activity.
Oh?
My sister, and he motions a hand towards where the little green speck that is Missy on the play equipment is. I am her guardian.
Oh. She's very sweet.
She is. Although, she's also very mischievous.
Well, that's all children, isn't it?
She has a particular talent. Is there anything I can do to make you a little less on edge? I can hear how uncomfortable you are.
Pardon?
In your voice, in your theme, in the way that you are holding yourself, you just radiate unease. You don't have to talk to me, but...
Roll insight again, real fast.
I will. 17.
Okay, when you mention that you can hear his theme, he looks surprised, and then his posture does actually kind of ease up a little bit. And he kind of tilts his head and says softly, You know about the music?
Ghibli's actually going to start a little bit and look back up at them. Yes. I wasn't expecting you to.
Of course we do. We were built in Knickknack. We would have had to have been deaf, blind, and some other third thing to not notice.
Blink, blink. Huh. Where is Knickknack?
It's sort of on the outskirts of Toontown, a little closer to the river. It's a lot of people tend to call it Toontown's theatre district, but that's not accurate. It's much older.
Chifley has a look of genuine surprise, because this is news to him. Ah. And the people there can hear it.
Yes, it's it's quite a big part of the local culture, to be honest. I mean, what with all the stuff about dance and theatre, it would have to be... You'd be hard-pressed not to notice just how much the music is a part of town. I didn't think anyone else who wasn't from there could hear it.
Oh, you and I have something in common then. I am from the score, and it seems as though it's very much the same, although we do not have dance or theatre as our focus.
And I'm gonna roll history, because I established in an FPS today that Bunlock had a book of maps that he was fond of.
21! That's enough! That's more than enough!
Yeah, his eyes kind of go sparkly for a minute, and he's like, "Oh, we've read about this score. It always sounded like such a lovely place."
It is very lovely. Goodness, I did not know there were people so far from home who could... Everyone I have spoken to has been completely ignorant.
Well, our understanding of the music is probably a bit different from yours. We're more in tune to it than most people from Knickknack. Most people just, well, treat it as what it is, part of the background. But, well, when your entire purpose is to look after people, you learn to read whatever ticks you can to make sure that you know how people are feeling, and the music can help with that.
No, I understand that. I do the same thing every day, just about. I
Oh,
work at the ECCR, and using the music and many other different techniques, I can tell how people are feeling and helping them out. Not everyone is comfortable with doctor's visits, so
you're a medical professional.
I'm not. I'm being trained in what they do at the ECCR. It focuses on color and color disorders mostly.
Uh, oh, we don't know what those are, but that sounds nice that you help people.
It's actually quite rewarding, really. I do enjoy it. Very different
Oh,
to what I might have done otherwise.
oh, uh, well, it's good that you like it.
What have you been keeping yourself busy with? Gil hasn't been particularly forthcoming with information, though I've tried not to ask.
We haven't talked to him much lately. He's been a bit busy. But we've we've kept ourselves busy with different things. Uh, uh, our McSpawn is teaching us how to do. Well, see, they're a nurse or a doctor. I'm not sure which they are, but we're not sure which they are. But well, we've they've been teaching us how to help out with them at the office at Dodo Studios. So we pop in there every once in a while, and oh, we've tried cooking with Mr. Marcel, and we've been embroidering a lot with our Sandy, and uh, that's mostly it.
Chifley's just sort of smiling at each familiar name that comes up.
We haven't really. I mean, we've been we've been trying to leave the apartment more because, well, we would really prefer to start getting used to everything. And we can't really do that with all the familiar stuff, so we've been going outside every once in a while. This park is nice. We we come here every once in a while. It's a nice place to just hang out and watch people do things. That sounds weird.
No, I know what you mean. People outside of your familiar area always act differently, even if it's in subtle ways.
Oh goodness, I thought people watching was interesting in Wits End, where everyone was, some variation of uncanny, but here it's almost. I mean, it's the same amount of interesting, but it's a more fun kind because there's less of the quiet horror of watching somebody ever so casually open up their chest cavity, and more of the quiet amusement of watching somebody pull off a gag even when they think nobody can see it.
Oh boy. Chifley's just sort of sitting there going, it certainly was a place. I'm no hurry to go back there.
You didn't get a very good impression of it. I'm sorry. It really wasn't such a bad place, I mean, we mean the way we were treated. It wasn't the same for everybody. If that's something that upset you. It wasn't the same for everybody else. It's just we aren't. We weren't. We hmm. They didn't see us as people because legally we are technically not. The technicalities of whether or not we actually are is not the kind of headache we want today. Um,
Uh,
but we already cried about that on some poor Toon's shoulder last week. But
well,
we
that's definitely a thing about Toontown. There's always a shoulder to cry on.
it is nice, and Mr. Sammy was very pleasant. He was friendly.
Chiefly just sort of blinks and looks back up at Bond like, Sammy.
Uh, yes, he was there too. If I remember right.
He was.
Uh, he was nice. He talked to us, and it was. We had a lot to think about afterwards, but it felt nice. Um, but really, the Wits End isn't a bad place. It's a transitional place. It's a place where people go when they don't know what they're doing, and they need they need help to find their path. And for most people, it works just fine. But uh, we broke everything again.
Define everything.
Uh, well, uh, Miss Airy, our director, she's the director for the whole town. You see, people go to her and they tell her what they want to be, and well, I didn't know how to want anything, so when I was given to her and I didn't know what to be, I just said that, well, uh, our Clara, she taught us to be the bad guy, so we guess that's what we want to do. But Airy fritzed when we did that. She didn't know what to do with it because, well, on one hand, she's supposed to help everybody who comes in, but on the other hand, helping somebody to do malevolence is not ideal if you want the people in the town you work for to be safe.
No, I suppose that is a bit of a conundrum.
So she fritzed, and she did her best with us. She sent us to get fixed, and she kept any danger that we might have caused out of the town by sending us off to Toontown every time we were supposed to do something, chaotic, story instigating, whatever you might want to call it. She made a very good plot device out of us, so that was nice. It felt good to be useful. And we had our job, and that was good too.
But was it what you really wanted?
Everyone keeps asking that.
Well, everyone is genuinely interested in the answer. Have you come up with one, or still thinking about it?
We don't know. And he kind of hugs himself and looks away and says, We were. We were. We've spent so long. We've spent so long worrying about what we're supposed to do, doing what everyone else tells us. We've been one thing for forever. And then we were another thing for, admittedly, an even longer forever. And we tried to be the first thing still, too, and we managed it pretty well. We were really well liked in Witsend because we were so helpful, and we were good at helping people feel better, and that was always nice. But, well, we we we've been one or two things for so long that even if we try to figure out what we want, we don't really know where to start. don't know how to want things. We know we didn't really like being the bad guy. I mean, it was nice. It was nice to have a role to play in a story, and it was always so good to see how people changed for the better after we were done. It was wonderful. But sometimes people would get hurt, even if we tried not to, because we never wanted to hurt anyone. But
I suppose
it's
that's the role of
complicated.
the bad guy, I suppose.
Yes.
If there's no nice way of putting this. You don't know what your role is. Is that what I'm hearing?
Roughly. We don't even know if we have one at this point.
Is that a bad thing?
We're not sure. We thought we knew, but he kinda fidgets with his fingers and says, We're really not sure anymore.
Chifley sort of puts his hands down on the grass and leans back a little bit. I can sympathize.
And Bonlock looks at him like, huh?
I was raised to do something in particular, and that was taken from me too. And it has taken such a long time to find something that feels right. Even just a little bit.
We're sorry. It's never easy. Are you alright?
Yes, well, mostly. It's better. It's definitely better. I genuinely enjoy what I do now, and even though it's not what I was born for, it's satisfying. It's comfortable. I've found something that's meeting all of my needs. And for the minute, meeting hers. And he motions to Missy again.
And Bonlock smiles at the little green speck that is Missy in the distance. That's good then. It's good. Good that you've got something that makes you happy and that takes care of you.
It's... There are lots of people that you have surrounded yourself who care so very much. I didn't recognize the first name you said, but every other name you've mentioned, I know them. You are going to be asked that question quite a bit, I feel, until there's something that you can come up with as an answer, or tell people to be quiet.
Oh, goodness, we could never tell anyone to be quiet. That's... Oh, goodness.
Why not?
We don't tell people to do things. That would be ridiculous.
Why? Why?
Because that's... that would be... He kind of laughs, and it's a weird kind of laugh. Like, it's not a purely happy laugh. It is definitely a, oh god, that is ridiculous and kind of terrifying to think about. And he's just like, to put it quite simply, we wear white. And you can roll history to see if you know what that means.
Okay. Whoa, that is totally the wrong place to roll that. Let's not roll that. Also, make sure you have a D in there. What's my history? That is a 10. That is a 10.
Dang it. I really want you to get this one. You know what? It's not advantage, just roll again. That one didn't work. Dice Pricer is mean.
Dice Passer is mean. Oh, boy. That is 11!
Fuck it, 11 works.
Oh, boy.
It's above average. I'm taking it. So, I don't know how familiar Chifley is with Evershore, the Evershore Isles, but there are a couple traits of the Evershore Isles that are, like, there's a couple phrases, slang terms, whatchamacallit, that kind of get thrown around, from, well, Chifley's probably met a couple people from Evershore just working at the ECCR and living in Toontown, and heck, people from Evershore probably visited the score every once in a while since it was the center of worship for the soundtrack, and there were people who worshipped the soundtrack on Evershore.
Yep.
And wearing white on Evershore, in specifically the autumn and winter courts, was a sign of being a servant. It meant you were of the serving class, that you were meant to bow to the whims of others. Because if you wore white, that meant that you didn't leave the house without permission. So what Bonlock has basically just said is, oh God, why would I ever tell anyone something to do when everybody else is supposed to tell me what to do? That would be ridiculous.
Chifley sort of ponders this for a minute because he has to sort of think about it to actually remember what that means. And he smiles a little bit. Well, what if someone were to tell you to stand up for yourself?
We would have no idea what that actually means.
If people are asking you questions that you do not want to answer, you don't have to answer. No matter what color you wear, Bonlock. And I can tell you this for a fact.
We've always found that honesty was the best policy.
I'm not saying lie.
Oh, good. We're bad at that.
I'm not very good at it either.
Bonlock says he's bad at it, but he actually has a +3 to deception.
Oh boy. I mean, Chifley's got a +2, so...
But he doesn't like lying.
No, that's fair. If you could do anything, would you want to do something new or something familiar?
And I think at this point he does kind of finally sit down because staying on his feet is tiring. And he kind of sits down crisscross applesauce and plays with some of the grass and is just like, well, we like helping people. That's what we've been doing with our mixed spawn, and we've enjoyed that. It feels good to help people feel better, even if some of the ways that they get not good is incredibly stupid.
That does not surprise me in the slightest.
We like helping. It's kind of hard to talk about because, well, everyone kind of keeps saying that you don't have to do what you were made for, but what if I want to?
Then that's perfectly fine.
Like, we like helping. We like taking care of others. We like making sure that, when everybody's had their big adventures and done all their crazy nonsense getting blown to high heaven things, that they have some place to come afterwards where they can sit down and have something nice to eat and sleep and get not hurt anymore.
No, that's fine. I am going to speak for people I probably have never met here, but it would not surprise me to guess that the reason people keep saying that you don't have to do what you were made for is not that they think you shouldn't, but that you shouldn't feel obligated to. But if it's what you want, that's different. Personal choice is very good. It's very good.
It's very new. Well, new to us anyway. To you, it probably seems like second nature, but I mean, he looks down at what he's wearing, just laughs and says, "We nearly gave ourselves some kind of panic, trying to justify to ourselves that reorganizing the fabric of our own clothes, not even taking clothes from somebody else or getting new ones, but just reordering the different shapes in this one. The very outfit that we have been wearing since the day we were made. We had to convince ourselves that it was okay to make it into something we were more comfortable with. Because we are not used to having to make decisions, or even being able to make decisions."
That does sound difficult to get used to. I can't even picture that.
You really can't. And there is a touch of what sounds like bitterness in his voice and in his theme as he kind of fidgets with the edge of his skirt and is just like, "Everyone's trying to help, but no one gets it. Because you've all been people your whole lives. You don't know what it's like to try and have to become one. Because everybody else expects you to, now that you're not in some place where there are people to tell you what to do. Everyone expects you, you're out now. You totally definitely know how to be a whole person. You definitely know how to make your own decisions. Aren't confused and terrified out of your mind and dealing with 1,000,000,001 different forms of new input. I mean, I went from having my entire life pretty much live for me, with a director to tell me everything that I did, everything that I was meant to do, and everything that I was going to do, and who sent me to get fixed, tortured, whatever the hell it was, whenever I messed up, to having people trying to help me, which is weird, and having people tell me I can do what I want. I've never wanted anything before."
You're being rushed. They mean well.
Maybe?
They mean well. They care so much.
I know they do.
It's going to be a difficult ride for you if you cannot tell them to just give you some time. I mean, how long has it been? Not very.
A week or two, maybe.
Hmm.
We're usually better at time than this. But it's just...
Time
it's
is
been
fake.
blurry.
Time is fake. Time is fake. Don't stress yourself over
roll
it.
insight.
23!
Yeah, when you say time is fake, you catch it as Von Locke mutters, "But every second counts." And there is so much behind that sentence. There's also something in particular you might notice that might worry you a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
Because you have been around Gil when his stabilization scar starts acting up.
Mm-hmm.
And with how terrifying of an experience that was, I don't imagine the sort of musical sting that played when that happened is going to be leaving your head anytime soon.
Nope. That's been burned into his mind for the rest of time.
A mellowed out version of that tune plays alongside Bonlock's theme when he mutters, "Every second counts."
Bonlock might want to roll an insight on Chifley, because Chifley is now just sort of very closely looking at Bonlock going, I know that. He's in... That's a 28. That is a 28. That is a nat 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good at insight.
Yeah. Chifley is watching very closely and is distinctly concerned.
And Unlock blinks, then snorts and is like, You've seen Gil destabilize then.
Is that what it's called?
That's what the books call it. We're fine. It's not that. That's just... He kind of waves a hand and then pulls said hand closer to his chest, kind of resting right over his heart, and he mutters, That's her theme.
Who's her?
Clara. Clara. Clara Adelaide Bedlam Hart. The person we were made for.
Why would her theme play when Gil was falling apart?
'Cause it's her fault.
Blink.
Oh, he hasn't told you?
No.
Well, we're not sure it's our place then, but we might as well, seeing as her business is our business and has been since the beginning of our existence. And there's a little bit of an annoyance there, but he kind of fidgets with his fingers and is like, well, our Clara, she did something that wasn't very nice. She had a husband. Her Aryan, our Thaza. And there is a bit of a romantic tone to his theme, but also a sad one when he says Athaza's name. And he says, well, he was immortal, see? He was Amara, and she had a magic knife. One that let her steal time. And she killed him. And told everyone that it was for the better, but she had stolen his immortality, and with it his power, and she became a goddess, and well, she's a complicated one. And anyway, Gil and a few others, they wound up meeting her, and she took a particular dislike to him, and well, Hart family always goes for the heart.
Chifley... Gil did not tell Chifley precisely what happened, but I can't remember the exact wording, but there was something about falling out of existence, and Chifley's just connecting a few dots in his head, and he puts both hands on his face and then just falls backwards onto the grass, just going, oh. Right. Okay. Oh.
Our Gil is not exactly the best at not pissing people off.
Yes, even people who are usually so difficult to annoy. I love him, but... Goodness gracious me. And he just sort of sits back up and he's just sort of shaking his head. The world is so big and yet so small.
You have no idea. I think the only person we've met so far who hasn't been connected to anyone else has been our new friend, Miss Tally.
That's not a familiar name to me. So,
Or at least,
yeah.
we don't think she's connected to anyone we know. But we know Gil, who knows Sandy, who knows Bon, and Gil also knows you, and also knows Sammy, and also knows Jay. I've not interacted with him yet.
No, neither have I.
He was interesting. He was almost as scary as you are.
Jeffrey just sort of looks back at Bondlog. Am I really that terrifying?
You were keeping Colm under pressure when everybody else was falling apart. You use magic, and you... you were very intimidating. I don't think you meant to be, but you were very intimidating.
There is just complete befuddlement on Tifley's face. Like, as far as he's concerned, a fern is more terrifying than him. He's so confused. Like, visibly confused.
Well, it might be because you're so different than the people we're friends with. Like, I mean, one of our friends is our Gil, obviously, and you two are so opposite. And when you associate one kind of person with, safety and trust, and you think of them as more than a friend, but not in the, lovey way, in the, I don't know what that way is called, but when you associate that kind of person with those things, somebody who's so different can be a little frightening.
I suppose so. I wouldn't have thought myself Gil's opposite. I mean, Sammy is his nemesis.
What's an... Oh, right. He mentioned that. And Bonlock kind of blinks and says, "Are you sure about that?"
Gil calls me the damsel. So...
Huh. Are you sure?
Came out of his mouth. He kidnapped me. Actually, he's rescued me once and kidnapped me once. So...
Gil and I have a lot in common in terms of our understanding of roles, but I think we might be differing on our understanding of your group. I've only met you and Mr. Sammy twice now each, but, if anything, he was the one who portrayed more of the damsel traits in that situation. Goodness gracious.
Situations really do make or break people. I don't like how Gil is so attached to his roles, but maybe it's because I can't use mine. I don't know. It bothers me so much.
How so?
When my role, my part to play, I was born to be a teacher and a leader, and I was 10 when that was taken from me. And I tried to endure it, but then when my mother got pregnant with Missy, I felt like I was being replaced, and I wanted to die. and nearly did. And it took so much effort to remove myself from that role, to find something that wasn't preordained, predestined, set in some kind of script that made me happy for me. And it's still shaky every now and then, but I don't want that for Gil, or for Sammy, or for Missy, or for anyone to feel as though something that was supposed to be theirs is all that they've got, because that nearly destroyed me.
And he's quiet for a long moment, and then just quietly asks, "Would you like a hug? You kind of sound like you might need one."
He hesitates, but then... Sure. That actually sounds nice.
And you are now getting a hug from somebody who is basically made of pillows.
Yeah, plush. Chivley's just gonna give him a hug back. He's not shaking and he's not crying, but you can kind of just feel from the way that he's returning the hug that it is appreciated and kind of a relief.
We're sorry that you had to deal with that. It's not a nice feeling.
I'm sorry I've offloaded all of my horrible backstory on you. I haven't even told Sammy and Gil that.
Consider it equivalent exchange. You saw us when we were... oh, goodness, well, we thought we were dying.
I'm sorry we could have not been more help.
It wasn't your fault.
No, I suppose not. Oh, that does remind me. He's gonna lean back from Bondlock and he's going to... Oh my god, I've just sort of forgotten how keys work.
Oh, goodness.
Just sort of staring at the keyboard going, brain. Okay, that is not a 1. He sort of reaches into his pocket and he pulls out 2 things. And the first one, he plops onto the grass in front of Bondlock, and it is a bag of gold coins.
Blink. What?
This is money that I was given by the Bookend Theatre as payment for attempting to recover you. I don't want it, but I'd like you to take it.
Blink. He kind of blinks and then fidgets with his fingers, and he looks very scared and very nervous, but he kind of is just like, no, thank you.
You don't want it?
No, thank you.
May I ask why?
Well, for one thing, we would have no idea what to do with money, and we are sure that you must have something that you could use it for that would be much better than anything we could. And for another, we aren't comfortable with that. We're still not 100% sure how we feel about about the fact that somebody was paid for our retrieval, like we were some sort. Well, we were probably. He scowls at the ground because he really doesn't like the whole mental debate he's been having to do lately of, am I allowed to say was in terms of my not being a person? Am I allowed to say is? What are the rules? But he shakes his head and says, we would much rather you have it, as consider it compensation for all the upheaval that must have caused.
Chifley's gonna think about it for a second, look at the little bag of gold, and then give Bondlock a genuine smile. All right. And he's just going to pick it back up and put it back on his other side. And the other item that he pulled out, he's holding in both hands. This is something different. And I'm hoping you'll take it. And he holds it out. It's a little bundle of blue and white striped cloth. And he's just handing it over to Bondlock.
Bondlock picks it up, blinks. Thank you. What is it?
Unfurl it. It's like folded up.
You're gonna have to tell him that. You think this boy's ever received a wrapped present before?
Okay, that's valid. He's just sort of gonna smile. Unwrap it and find out.
Okay. We've only ever seen people get presents that had wrapping on them before. We've never had to actually open one ourselves. And he kind of carefully opens it up, careful not to damage the blue and white striped fabric, I think you said was on it.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is fabric. And as Bondlock sort of unfurls it, it's actually a pair of stripy knee-high socks. And he kind of looks a little bit embarrassed. It's like, I don't know how things are in Knick-Knack, but at the score, it's considered good luck to give somebody something with the color blue. I've worked with enough people with color to suspect it might not stick, given... And he kind of gestures to all of Bondlock. You're not blue in color yourself, but and this is the only thing that I kind of have on me, but if you'll accept this, a good gesture of goodwill from me.
Okay. On one hand, I hope you do know that there are surprised, flattered, happy tears in Bondlock's eyes.
Aww.
First off, because socks! He likes socks. He doesn't have socks. He likes socks. He liked wearing them as part of costumes for shows. Socks are cool. On the other hand, I hope you know that my brain immediately went to, Master has given Dobby a sock.
Oh, that's funny. Oh dear. That's great.
And seemingly in answer, Bondlock puts on the socks.
Ah, that's correct. Chifley is absolutely thrilled.
And then he smiles at Chifley and says, thank you. You've only ever worn socks for a costume before, but they're comfy.
My mother, when she was not working at the amphitheater, she liked making things like this. She was an amazing seamstress. She made the scarf that Missy is wearing.
Oh, it's very pretty. And it's of good quality, too.
It's a muted shade of blue, considering where we're from, but it suited her. So my mother went with it. It's a very blue place, the score. But then again, so is the soundtrack.
God, it's been so long, but we remember seeing pictures of her. You couldn't go 2 steps in Knick-Knack without finding some kind of iconography back in the day. Granted, this was 89 years ago, but, well, we used to walk outside with our creator when we were first learning how to, and the sights and sounds and everything was so beautiful. And sometimes you would walk right up to a mural of the town's deities on the wall, and you would see well, we didn't call them the soundtrack. We called them the symphony, but the symphony and Prismatone standing next to each other. It was always such pretty artwork. I wonder if it's still there.
I don't know. I have seen some depictions of Prismatone here in Toontown, but nothing of the soundtrack.
Well, that's surprising. They're siblings.
Yes, she said as much.
Maybe sometimes you can have one without the other?
Possibly.
Although sound and music tend to go together pretty hand in hand.
They do. They do. Back home, we had not so many statues of the soundtrack. It was more mosaic and paintings and things like that. But there was smaller statues of Prismatone, and Crunkle was there as well.
Crunkle is nice.
I'd hope so. They're a god of love, aren't they?
Yes, we think so. From what we remember.
Would it be rude of me to ask if you have any particular deity of your own, Bondlock?
It's not rude. We don't really. We've considered it a couple times, but we well, we were never really allowed out of the house enough to learn about deities or religion. So, well, we suppose we do owe something to Prismatone due to how we were made, but we don't really have a particular deity of our own. We just try to treat all of them with respect.
I suppose that is the most responsible thing anyone could do. And Chifley's going to suddenly brighten and snap his fingers a little bit in, aha, I just had a thought.
Oh, goodness.
And he reaches over and he moves that bag of gold coins again, and just sort of puts it in front of the both of them. I just had a thought. You said that you didn't want anything to do with this. I have a little bit of a project I'm working on and he puts a finger in front of his mouth as something of a surprise for Sammy in particular.
He goes sparkly-eyed and claps his hands over his mouth because, shush, surprise time.
And he's just sort of grinning really cheekily. And it relates to Prismatone. I'm not sure if you know, but Sammy is a cleric of hers. But what you said just now made me think that the perfect place for this gold might be in service of not only Prismatone, but the soundtrack of the symphony. What do you say to that?
And he kind of lightly claps his hands together, because that is a thing he has, is that he doesn't really clap his hands so much as he pats them together and is like, oh, that sounds lovely. What did you have in mind?
There is a place that is very near and dear to Sammy, where there is a gorgeous garden and a statue of Prismatone in the garden courtyard of an abandoned theater. And I am going to buy it eventually. Maybe, if I can get the gold together. And unabandon it.
Oh, sounds lovely. I'm sure the theatre will appreciate it too.
It's a stunning building. The walls light up when you speak, or make any kind of noise inside. Or at least in some of the rooms.
Sounds lovely.
You know theatres.
Yes, we used to work in one. We would certainly hope we would.
Would you help me refurbish it?
And he goes absolutely starry-eyed because the shapes that make up his irises do still change shape with his feeling. And they are just stars. And he's just patting his hands together excitedly like, yes, very much so. He likes baking things, he likes fixing things, he likes building things. Yes!
Chiefly likes that response. Well,
when can we start?
We can start whenever you're ready, but we have to keep it a secret from Sammy. And I still need to work out more gold to buy the building. But hopefully that won't take me too long. Nobody checks the building. I've already started cleaning up inside, but it would be stunning to be able to take Sammy to the front door and push it open. It was already done inside. So...
Sounds so wonderful. We'd be happy to help you.
He's going to reach back into his pocket. Yep. He's going to reach back into his pocket and pull out his notebook. And he's going to write down the address of the theatre and tear the page out and hand it to Bondlock. This is where it is. Sammy likes to go into the garden, and he's already been working on the garden, tending the flower beds and all that sort of thing. So if you want to do any work in there, you have to make sure he's not there first. He doesn't.
And he nods very seriously.
He doesn't even know that one of the doors has been unboarded. I've been keeping it a secret.
And he nods very seriously, like, yes, this is secret surprise business.
Thank you. I'll be glad to have an expert.
We're hardly an expert, but we do know a thing or two about fixing and building. We managed the props backstage in Bookend, and while we didn't help build the building, we certainly helped build enough tiny buildings to count towards something.
We will have to make a time to be there at the same time, and I can show you what I've already done and what I thought would be nice, and we can go from there.
And he nods excitedly.
Chiefly's going to make a motion to take the paper back from Bondlock if he'll let him, and he's going to write his own address on there as well.
Aww. Oh, what's this one?
This is where Missy and I live.
Oh.
So you can drop by anytime. If we're not there, I'm probably at work and Missy is at school. Oh, that's a thought too. If either before or during or after this little project we've now got, if looking after people, and Clara was a child, I think. Is that right?
Yes, for most of the time we were looking after her. When she got older, she took us out of the attic again, and she wasn't very nice then, but when she was younger, yes, that's when we mainly were meant to look after her.
he sort of nods at that, and he writes a third address on the piece of paper. This is where Missy goes to school. If looking after children is still of interest, you could always ask there. Volunteer. Or if they pay you, that's even better. I can't guarantee they'll say yes, but you can always ask.
What's a school?
It's where children go to learn all sorts of different things. Missy has only been there for a couple of months, and she now can count to 30, where she could only count to about 15 before. But it's where they grow and play, and there are adults there to look after them. And it means that they get an excellent start on life, and their guardians can go to work to be able to support them. So while I work, Missy is at school, and there's lots of other people who send their children there. Someone else in her little common circle also sends his son there. Sandy will probably be able to tell you all about Rad, if you were to ask. Although so would Missy. But if that's of interest to you, just to let you know the option is there.
And he nods. He nods and is like, that might actually be nice. We were at the library the other day, after we've been going there every once in a while because, well, like we said, we've been trying to get out of the house, and the library is a nice quiet place after after trying to traverse the streets. It can get very loud.
Mm-hmm.
But the library is nice and quiet, and we were looking around, and we were looking for stuff because, well, we want to look to maybe get a job eventually. We don't know how to do that. We think we need paperwork to be able to do that. We don't have that. But we want to get a job eventually so that we can get a nicer house for our mixed bond, because they've been living in a very small apartment and they deserve nice.
Well,
and we found a book about babysitting, and we were thinking about doing that because, well, that seems easy enough.
School is very similar to babysitting, I think, but more kids and a little bit more structured educational components than just baby minding or child minding.
We were never good at helping Miss Clara with her homework.
Well, you could always go and have a look, and if it's not to your tastes, then do something else. At your own pace. That's the key of it, at your own pace.
And he smiles at Chifley. You're a lot less scary than I thought you were.
I'm glad. It's not really in my business to be frightening. But I'm glad I got to talk to you.
We're glad too.
And look forward to working with you, Bondlock. He's just got that cheeky grin again.
And Bondlock giggles, and there is kind of the mischievous giggle sound to it. And then he does pause for a second, and then he looks at you and says, but also, not to bring the mood down or anything, but if you're not comfortable with the concept of, well, story roles being a part of your relationship, I think you should tell Gil and Sammy. Because
it's been brought up, but we haven't been able to talk about it in any significant manner. Things are really good now, and I want them to stay that way for a little bit before talking about it again.
That makes sense. I just, well, We were talking to Mr. Sammy the other day, and, well, just keep in mind that it might be something to talk about.
Yes. I think that might be necessary. I will. I'm not going to avoid it forever, but I just want to enjoy this for a little bit.
That's fair. It's nice when things are nice, and I can understand not wanting to make things, not wanting to bring up complicated topics to make things unpleasant.
I'll try not to put it off for too long.
And he smiles.
And at that point, Missy is going to run back over and basically tackle Chifley. And I'm actually going to do him a dex saving throw because I think that's funny. What's his dex saving throw? +1. Oh, that's okay. Okay, so that 20, fine. So she dives at him, and he kind of he just catches her, and she's sitting in his lap. Chifley, I'm hungry. Is it time to go home? Is it? Yeah, I want pizza. You had pizza yesterday. I still want pizza. I want pizza. She just kind of starts yammering at him.
Oh, bless. And Bonlock kind of giggles.
I'll think of something. I want pizza. I think we might have to take our leave, Bondlock. I'll talk to you later.
Of course. And he kind of stands up, dusts himself off, and gives a very polite bow.
Chifley's gonna get up, and he's going to offer a hand for a handshake.
And Bonlock shakes his hand.
Yay! I think that's a really nice place to close the scene.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That was really nice.
That was a fun conversation.
It had some ups and downs, but yeah, I think that went well.
Yeah. Okay, that was wonderful. Everybody say goodbye to the listeners. Goodbye, listeners.
Bye, listeners.